Good evening, folks. Welcome back to The View for this week's live podcast. And delighted, as becoming more and more frequent now, but delighted to be joined by Paul from the Leeds Therapy to have a little chat about, because we're not allowed to talk about transfers apparently anymore. We're going to have a little talk about the current squad and see who's heading out the door, who we want to hang on to, or who deserves a little bit of time out on loan to maybe help with their development a little bit, or to get them off the wage bill. We're going to have a little look through the squad. It won't be too long tonight. Do about a half an hour. But if you could stick a subscribe or like on the video, if you could as well. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, you can click the subscribe button. I don't even say it anymore, so my mouth won't let me say the words. You can like and subscribe if you want it as well. There you go. Paul, how are you doing, mate? How's things?
Good. I've just been swimming with my 6-year-old, which was like trying to wash a kitten in a bag. But other than that, it was good. I'm really good. I might seem knackered, but I'm okay. I'm very excited.
I meant to say it's more on my video if anyone was looking at me and wondering why I looked like I was dying from a cold. My eyes were red, my skin was red. I'm crippled with hay fever. I live right beside a farm, and he's been busy cutting fields and stuff in the last 2 days. So I was dealing with all that coming in the back door. So yeah. We're still here though. We're still here, Paul. We're still struggling along, and we'll crack on.
Fighting through, doing it for all the other baldies out there.
Come on, the baldies. That's why we're here. Here for the baldies. A couple of bits just to get into real quick, just to let you know, I won't drain the ocean on this because I've talked about probably more than people want me to, but the Creator Cup is on July 20th, John Charles Stadium for Sport. Tickets are £7 for adults, £3 for kids. A donation button there on the website as well, leedscreatorcup.com. If you want to come along and help support prostate cancer, I would very much appreciate that. My father passed away from prostate cancer, so it's something that's very close to my heart. So any support there would be great. And come along and see us on the day and have a bit of fun with us. It'll be a fun, good day. And I will be playing my last ever game of football before I get my hip replaced. So it'll be interesting, if nothing else, and probably a bit of a laugh. But yeah, Paul will be there. I'll be there. Joe Blackburn will be there. Joe Wayman will be there. All the usuals will be there. It'll be great to see everybody. Right, let's start off with this, Paul. Let's have a little quick chat. Without getting into the individual players just at the moment, top line stuff before we put my very fancy Excel spreadsheet on the screen. What's your thoughts about the existing squad that's we've got coming into next season, and potential volume of additions that might or might not be needed for next year?
Right. Okay. Let's see. What's my some good, some bad. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. It's my honest. There's players that I think that will be naturally moving on anyways. There's players that I think will need to move on because I don't think they're at the level that they need to be just yet. I think probably from a headline point of view, we need anywhere from 6 to 8 players to come in as a minimum. But everybody just needs to be patient. It will happen. It's just going to take a little bit of time for it to actually happen. You've got to remember, people are off at the moment. People are on holiday. Contracts haven't come up yet. All of that kind of stuff. So we've just got to just kind of bide our time. But there does need to be movement. There are players that I think need to go. Do you want me to name players, or do you want me to?
Yeah. No. Just do you think the existing squad needs fleshing out with a bit of experience, a bit of Premier League level, or is it okay as it is? What would it do on its own, Paul, if it wasn't to be touched?
Struggle. Yeah. Struggle, possibly survive. But I think that what we need is not grizzled championship people. We need experience. We need to retain a certain player that we got on loan last season. We need to buy that player.
With the players that are not with us at the moment. So
100% he needs buying. The spine of the team really needs looking at massively. We need a different type of option for the number 10 role. We've got the combative number 10. We need the silky skillful number 10, 100%. We need a defensive midfielder, definitely. We need a centre-back of some description, and probably a left-back and a right-back at the same time as well. So that's why I say we need about 6 to 8 players, massively. But yeah, the squad we've got now could be good enough to survive. Could be, but it needs the experience and it needs fleshing out. I think it's too small to survive at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a great show. I think the physicality of the whole thing is is definitely an issue. I take offense to this comment that says Triple H is greater than Shawn Michaels. He is not. We'll move on from that. Yeah, I think physical presence needed, bit of height, bit more aggressiveness, bit more bite in that team as well. I think the conversations have been that Leeds might look at the spine of the team. I do want to address a couple of comments before we get into this. The Angus Kinnear comment's been there a couple of times. People's biggest problem in their view is that Angus Kinnear is using their info and blagging Everton purchases. Apparently, and as I was told, we checked this out, Angus Kinnear was moved to arm's length from day-to-day stuff quite a while ago, as was Nick Hammond. He was moved out of the building. So they haven't been involved in Leeds shortlisting stuff. Obviously, there's a relationship between Angus Kinnear and Daniel Levy, so Manor Solomon and any previous deals that he would have had could be on the table for hijacking. But outside of that, we've been told he was very much kept at arm's length. So he's not fully aware of what their plans are, the shortlists are at the moment. So shouldn't be a factor. But positional wise in the league table, Everton are going to be shopping in the same pool of players that we are. Same with likes of Crystal Palace, I suppose, to a degree as well. I've mentioned a couple of times with a couple of Leeds players have been linked with. But at the moment, they're all rumours. Nothing is true until it's true. We have to wait and see how that goes.
I wouldn't be surprised as well. Sorry, Joe. I wouldn't be surprised if he is under some type of non-compete clause in terms of stuff that's been done. I don't mean strict, but there'll be some sort of agreement that's in place, a legal agreement, I would say, that's in place that would stop him from being able to poach or to do certain things.
I think the interesting part as well is he talked himself when he went to Everton about replicating the model that they had in Leeds, and he wasn't a fan of the Victor Orta model before that, but he wanted to put the model that came in place after that. Funnily enough, it's a model that the 49ers have changed this summer straight away. As soon as he's left, they've changed the model again. So he's taking a model that was how Leeds did things over to Everton, and Leeds have stopped doing things that way and are doing them slightly different, more data and more analytically approached. So an interesting one. We are Compost in the chat says, I keep Jaron Paul and sell Joe Blackburn. That's an interesting one to do. We've had that one. Joe said, this is my WrestleMania 24 moment. Yeah, I'll be leaving my boots in the middle of the pitch at the end of the game. And Michael has said, this is an interesting point because I want to give you some clarity on this as well. Michael said he watched the video earlier today. Is it right saying that we can do deals but not sign the paperwork or get them in the door until July 1st? Please explain more. So Joe Donoghue, the piece in the YEP, where basically said due to accounting and financial issues or constraints, Leeds won't be signing any players till the 1st of July. Now, similar to a pre-contract agreement, Leeds can have agreements in place with anyone they want that don't come into effect until the 1st of July. However, I have a PSR man. A man by the name of Steve Carlisle. How you doing, Steve? And Steve sent me a message today on the back of the video and on the back of Joe Donoghue's. I will read it so I don't get it wrong. And he said, as your unofficial PSR advisor, I can confirm that Joe Donoghue is right when he says what he says about Leeds better being after the 1st of July legally on PSR. His explanation in the article is unfortunately wrong. The full cost of the player won't hit a P&L or PSR figure. The cost is spread over the period of the contract. But in conclusion, he is right about it being a better position to wait till the 1st of July than before the 30th of June. But that essentially that money only impacts the club in a PSR perspective if it's put into the books within the period of last year up to the 30th of July. So there is still wiggle room there if Leeds wanted to get deals done. And it doesn't mean that Leeds aren't lining up deals anyway. They will have all this stuff ready to go, and then they'll go when they can go. So we'll wait and see. But that's it. The reason we can't talk about transfers, people asking, is because we keep getting stick from people in the comment section to stop talking about transfers. And I wish the people that wrote that would just stop watching the videos until the transfer window's fully in movement, and then we can all move on. But that's why. They're your rationales behind it. But let's get into this, Paul.
Yep.
And let's have a little look of the Leeds United squad. Funny enough, I've taken out the players that were on loan last year. They're not in this squad because they're not part of the squad right now. But I've added in the players that were out on loan last year and have come back. And again, I'm sorry, it's an Excel, time permitting. This is what we're dealing with. Okay. So what we've got, ignore the positions. I don't know why I put that in. Do you know what? Let's just get rid of that now. This is Jer's knowledge of Excel. There we go. Only worked for Microsoft for 10 years. Here we go. So we're going to go through each player and basically make a decision, and it's just our opinions. Let us know in the comments what you think as well. Keep them, loan them out, or sell them. Simple as. I've also put in, if sell, a value. So if you're going to say sell players, stick in the comments what you think a realistic value is and tot that up over the course of the stream and come up with a figure at the very end of that. The reason for that is we're going to do the same. And that will tell us if Leeds have additional wiggle room from a PSR perspective or more money in the bank to spend on new players. So if I'm not looking at the chat tonight, it's because I'm staring at this lovely Excel. Okay. But we're going to let Paul lead this because I want Paul's initial reactions and then I'll give mine after that. So, Paul, let's start off. Let's zoom in a little bit and make this a bit bigger for everyone to see. Let's start off with Illan Meslier, Leeds United's current first choice goalkeeper, or number one at the moment, at least squad number wise. A lot of conversation around the goalkeeping position this year. Where do you see with this? There has been some talk in reports that came out this week that Leeds would consider keeping Illan Meslier potentially as a number two. But the keeper himself might not be keen on sitting on the bench based on comments he said 2 years ago, I believe, when he was linked with Chelsea.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Meslier?
Sell him.
So
it's simple. It's I think for the keeper himself, for as a person, for him, I think it's time for him to move on, regardless of how you feel with regards to his what's the right word? The word's completely gone out of my head. His mess ups. Oh, I nearly swore. With his mess ups last year, he was a part of getting us promoted last season. You can't take that away from him. Yes, he made mistakes, but he was a part of getting us up last season 100%. So I would sell him. Value wise, he's 10 to 12 million.
Oh, I would agree with that as well. Yeah, I'm going to say 10. I'm going to stick a second one beside this because I agree. And I will stick to things I said before in the past. I won't rewrite history. I do think Illan Meslier will be a very good goalkeeper. I do think he'll go off and have a very good career. I don't necessarily think, unfortunately, there's too much water under the bridge that will happen at Leeds. I could be wrong. He might end up coming back and as he approaches his peak years, end up being a fantastic goalkeeper for Leeds. But he's gone through an awful lot at the club. I think the confidence is low. I think the confidence in the fan base is gone as well. And even when you look at the statistics around shots faced last season, when Carl Darlow came in, we faced less shots when Darlow was in goal. And unfortunately, for him, the good run kicked in at that point as well. So it could be a tough one for him to come back on, but I would be in agreement. I would say, but if you can get 10 million for him, it'd be a really good fee to get for him as well. And again, I agree with Luke down here. Silvestri 2.0 went off and had a very good career as a goalkeeper in Serie A. So didn't set the world on fire. Didn't need to. Had a decent career. So inconsistent performances. And you're right there, Pierre, but I think the thing to know here is with young players, and he is still a very young goalkeeper, you get inconsistency. The only consistent thing about a young player is inconsistency. Just look at
David De Gea and how his career started, and how he skyrocketed after a little while. I don't know what happened. He went away one summer, came back, and he was huge. He'd hit the weights all of a sudden. But yeah,
it's an interesting one. All right, Carl Darlow. Experienced goalkeeper, was the keeper in nets when Leeds got confirmed promotion, has been in this situation before where he's gone up as the number one of a club and then had mixed seasons, I suppose, in the Premier League and was ultimately either dropped to number two or moved on from clubs who did get promoted to the Premier League. But is a homegrown player, has a huge amount of experience, hasn't done anything wrong. What would you do with Carl Darlow?
Keep him. Keep him as the number two. Yeah, I'd keep him as the number two. I think Carl Darlow is aware that if he was kept this season, he wouldn't be first choice, that he would be second, possibly third choice, as Sly says there. But for me, he'd be second choice goalkeeper. I think he's reliable enough to be kept. I think his performances and the confidence that he bred into the defence, in particular, towards the back end of the season, he's definitely worth keeping.
Yeah, Nick, what I mean about Meslier being young is he's young in goalkeeping terms. Most goalkeepers don't peak till their 30s, so their age of peaks is very different. Most footballers, outfield players, will peak between 26 and 28. That tend to be your best years, 28, 29. Then the turn starts to happen on 30 to the legs. Goalkeepers tends to be later than that as well because they can play much later than outfield players do as well. So that's what I meant in terms of that. But yeah, you're right. Age-wise, 25, probably not that young. Okay, most people are saying keep Darlow. I would agree with you. I think it's a good, solid player to have. I think experience is going to be important around the dressing room next season. He's an old head, did nothing wrong for us last season. If you needed him in goal, if a cup matches, League Cup games, you've got a good deputy there who can step in and do a job for you if you want to rotate as well. So, interesting one. Yeah, very good. These are probably the easier ones.
Yeah, great teeth as well. He's got lovely teeth.
They're going to get trickier. Alex Kearns ticks the box as a homegrown player and as a Leeds United homegrown player.
Yep.
So it's more of a release, isn't it? I think. Alex,
yeah, it'd be a release more than anything.
And I would say you're probably going to get 0 on that one as well. But nice having Alex back at the club last year. It was great to see him there. And nice. Himself and Sam Byram specifically going up with the Premier League with Leeds, having been at Leeds during the really bad years and everyone wanting those promotions. Nice for those two to get those promotions. Yeah. Pretty unanimous response there as well. As Michael says there, Melier aged 10 years in the past years. Definitely emotionally. Emotionally. All right, let's move on to one of the best players we had last season. I'm excited to see what he does in the Premier League, and that's Jayden Bogle. Good season for Leeds. Slow burner, slow start. We've talked about this before, about just giving people time to get used to playing for Leeds and get used to the weight of that jersey and the fan base. Thoughts on Jayden Bogle going into next season? You keep him, you loan him, you sell him.
You're keeping him 100%. Unbelievable towards the back end of last season. Practically unplayable at points. What he did against Stoke was effectively pornographic, pretty much. I will say that. But overall, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does. He's a player now that's kind of reaching his peak powers, and it'd be nice to see what that translates to in the Premiership, because it's a different system that he's going to be asked to play in the Premiership. It's a different style that he's going to be asked to play compared to what he was playing when he was at Sheffield United. So he's he's grown, just like Pierre says there, he has grown into the team. One of the standout players last season for me, without even having to discuss it. You keep him without even a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, everyone's saying the same thing. God, it's amazing. He got so much stick in the first 5 games of the season. He was called a joy. He was told to send him back. You wasted money, and now look, universal applause for the man. Yeah, he did a fantastic season. He's such an exciting player to watch. The goal output as well, very similar to Firpo. You see him in front of goal with a ball at his feet, and you're not even slightly concerned that he won't hit the target. You think he'll score, and amazing output from him last year. So yeah, I would agree with you on that, Paul. We keep him. Junior Firpo, not really in our court at the moment. Rumors of a contract offer from Olympique Lyonnais, rumors of a contract offer from AC Milan, and rumors of a contract offer from Leeds United. It's starting to smell a little bit like Cody drama this summer. But if you had the choice, Paul, what would you do?
I'm torn. I'd keep him because I think the Firpo that we got in the Premiership at first isn't the same Firpo that we've got today. He was ill. He was injuries. There's a lot that went into the way that he played at the start of his tenure for us. And I think he was a little bit too overeager to try and please, which meant he was making mistakes a lot of the time. I think he's a much more settled player now. I think he's a much more mature player now. Wow, Sly. I think he's a much more mature player now. I'd keep him. Definitely. I'm down the keeping route, but it's out of our hands, isn't it, Jay? Because it's does he go to Lyon where they're playing in Europe? Does he go to AC Milan? Does he go to Betis? That he's got a very, very emotional connection to Betis, hasn't he? So does that happen? What with regards to him staying at Leeds United? Obviously, the contract is it 4 years speculatively that they've put forward for him.
Apparently, he's been offered a 4-year deal. Also, just before we get to that, just to address this one, Paul, as well. Somebody put this out. I don't know where they got the number from. He hasn't been offered a contract of £150,000 a week. Leeds, according to what I read this morning in Leeds Live, they said that Leeds have never offered anybody more than £80,000 per week. So any of this £160,000 is likely per month and not per week. So that can be knocked off the table straight away. It would make him Leeds' highest earning player by a considerable margin. Yeah,
it's not going to happen. He's been offered reduced terms from what he was originally when we came into the Premiership.
Correct.
But better than what he's on now. So it's a decision. It's a decision that he's going to have to make. Disagree with Paul Atkinson slightly. I think he's gotten better as the season's gone on. In terms of his defensive positions. Listen, it's a different animal in the Premier League. We know that. But I'm going to say, and I'll stand by it, I maintain that he is a different player now to the one that we experienced in the Premiership. So for me, I mean, if he does leave, he leaves with everybody's blessing, doesn't he? Because he's righted the wrong of us being relegated. So it's just down to how we all feel. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree.
It's fine.
I know it is.
I
I
know,
know
but
we were allowed to do
it's just so if anybody in the comment section down below goes, ooh,
No.
hang on. Sorry.
I don't think that sounds the way you thought it was going to sound.
Probably. Hang on. About,
Controversial.
Miss less threatening.
yeah.
Yeah, it's far less intimidating. But yeah. People are allowed different opinions. It's okay. Everyone's allowed their own opinion. You know, as long as you're not insulting anybody or being a dick, you're allowed an opinion. So, big thanks to Free Fallen for the super chat. Really appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. It's always appreciated support on the channel. I'm gonna say sell just because not for any bad reason. I think he's been fantastic for Leeds for 2 years, as you say, Paul, and rightly he will leave with our blessings, and he should. I have question marks around the Premier League level. And I think I would like a more defensive-minded fullback than a more attack-minded fullback. I think we need at least one side. We've got slightly more defensive-minded players, so we're not getting done over the top. I had a couple of question marks last season, the bigger games where he appeared to get caught in behind a few times. But again, that's because he's very attack-minded and Farke lets him go forward. So there would need to be a change of philosophy next season, which there probably will anyway. But yeah, value on that one's going to be a big fat duck egg because, Sam Byram will cost us very little to keep. He has been off. Well, he's in talks around the new deal. There's been nothing offered just yet, but in talks around the new deal. Again, homegrown, Leeds player, Leeds lad, experienced. Didn't really let Leeds down. Probably not the most exciting player in the world at this point of his career. But what would you do with Sam?
Keep him.
Del?
Yeah, keep him. No, keep him.
Keep him. Okay.
I'd keep him as backup.
Yeah, so would I.
He's got that reliability of being able to fill in at left back, being able to fill in at right back, just to see certain situations out. And he's earned it as well. He has earned it. And it's not that he's not a good player. He's a decent player. So he's earned it for me. Yeah. You keep him as backup.
I would disagree with Michael Isles' comment that he's too slow. I didn't see anything last year that suggested to me that Sam Byram was slow.
No.
There's injury concerns there and how long he can last and how many games he can play, and that's valid. I wouldn't describe him as a slow player. He'd still beat me in a race anyway. But yeah. Yeah, and again, he wouldn't cost us much to keep. I would keep him. Right, we'll rattle through a couple of these quickly because some of those will be easier. And I'm just conscious of the time as well. But Isaac Schmidt, tough year last year.
Keep him. Showed the signs. I think there's enough there for him. He stays.
Great. We'll give him another year. Glad we're sorting this out for Leeds. Pascal Stroke, talks of clubs maybe interested in him abroad and maybe even Red Bull themselves looking at taking him to Leipzig if Leeds were to consider letting him move on. Very important player for Leeds last year. I think he's a very good footballer. There is the issue of the one injury per year that keeps him out for a block of time every year. But outside of that, he's been a very important player for Leeds. Your thoughts, Paul?
Keep him.
Keep.
Okay, I keep him.
Joe Rodon's a straightforward yes, isn't he?
Oh, 100%. It doesn't even, we don't even need to. You could have filled that in before we even started, mate, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I would have. Joe Rodon's all day. Give it to me. Yeah. Ethan Ampadu, Leeds skipper, keep.
Yeah.
Straightforward. Yeah. No. Straightforward one. Max Fober, keep. No.
Max
Let's talk about Max. So, no real talk of any clubs interested in him. Mönchengladbach obviously had interest in him again last year. Possibility of a Nico Elvedi, maybe swap deal there somewhere if there was conversations. But Max Fober, thoughts on him?
Sell. He doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Even though we're in the Premiership, he doesn't want to be here. So
I also agree with you. Fee-wise, what are you thinking?
I don't know why, but I've got 5 to 6 million in my head. That's what I've got.
Yeah,
I think that's all. I think that's all we'd get for him, anyways.
I'm gonna say 5. I'll go along with that. Yeah, James De Boyle,
loan.
Yeah, same. Agree with you on that one. Let him get some minutes. The reason I've got Diego Monteiro down here is he will be aging out of June 21s very soon, so a decision has to be made on him whether he stays, moves on. He had a very good year for the under-21s last season, captained them for a lot of the season. Probably the best year he's had since he's arrived at Leeds under-21s. Wasn't included in the first team squads at any point, but did travel, I think, twice with the squad. So is in around the fringes of that, but is of the older under-21 age bracket. What would you do with Diego?
I'd keep him and bring him up to this is what I'd do. I'd keep him for the first 6 months of the year. I'd bring him into the squad, into the main squad, see how he's performing, see how he's doing. If he not cutting it, but if there is something that's not quite right, I'd loan him for the remainder of the year after the last 6 months. I'd loan him out in January if he's not made a forward step.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with that. Stephen from Leeds, I'm grateful for Max last season. No need for the hate. What hate, Stephen? There's not even a bit of hate in the comments about him. We're just making a comment around whether he'd be here or not, and he doesn't want to be at the club. He said it 2 years ago, and he barely kicked the ball last year. There's no hate there. It's just commenting on facts. So yeah, I would agree with you. You want to keep him. I'm going to loan him out. I would say loan him out for a year.
Okay.
That's that one. Out Tanaka, keep.
Yeah.
Now, actually, sorry, that moved. Ilya Gruev, slightly more contentious one. Yeah, out being sold. Someone has said that to me as well. I think it would be crazy to sell him. I do think there'll be a surprise sale, but I don't think it'll be out. I think he's too important. He's too important from two reasons. One, he's the best midfielder we've got in the club. And two, the revenue you make from the Japanese market as well, having a Japanese international on your side is massive. Massive. If you look at Tottenham Hotspur, their whole model is built around the Korean fans coming over to buy Son shirts. You don't let a cash cow go out the door that easily. So, yeah, he's a big market into the Japanese markets. I don't think he'd be going anywhere. But I do think there'll be a surprise sale. Will Ilya Gruev? Probably not a surprise. What would you do with Ilya?
See, this is right.
Yep.
I've got a sneaky suspicion he goes in the summer, and I don't know why. I've just got something in my water is telling me that he goes in the summer, and I could be completely wrong, but I just think he goes in the summer.
You see, I agree with Tom here. I keep him as backup because he's a very good defensive player, and there's certain games where you might want to pack that midfield and put a defensive-minded player. Ilya Gruev doesn't do anything for you going forward, but he is very, very much a defensive-minded midfielder. And again, I said it last year, I'll say it again. When he was in that team away from home, we conceded less goals on average when he was in the team versus when he wasn't. So he does do a job. But
don't get me wrong. I would keep him. I just have this feeling that he's going to get sold. Don't know why. Just it's that I think that for me is going to be the surprise sale in the summer.
Okay. Thanks, Stephen. How is on the market? I think everyone's on the market, really, Stephen. If there's a price, they put a big enough money in, there's a big enough PSR profit. 49ers already showed with Kamara last year. If the money's big enough, they'll take it.
Everybody's for sale. Everybody's for sale.
We saw last year in the Premier League, teams are going to sell players you're not expecting them to sell in order to balance up different areas of the park and bring different players in. So it's just a strange one, but yeah. But I like Ilya Gruev, but I think you said sell, did you?
I wouldn't sell him. I'd keep him, but I think he's going to get sold.
Yeah, I'd keep as well. Charlie Crew, good year at Doncaster last year. 2 promotions, 2 promotion medals in one season. Qualified for one with Leeds and picked one up with Doncaster, getting out of League 2. Do you loan him out to League 1 next year? Give him a step up, or do you're not selling a player his age?
You're not selling Crew. I would be loaning him to a Championship club next season.
Yeah, so would I. Agree with you on that one as well.
Just in terms of that progression, next step up. So yeah,
and he's got time. He's still 19 years of age, so he's progressing quickly through the leagues, and you get that in the Championship next season. It'd be fantastic to see him as well. Most people saying loan, and I would agree with that as well. Andy's saying loan. Official Zoom is saying loan. Yeah, I would agree with that. Brendan Aronson, our American boy, very good start to the season last year. Fantastic first half of the season. G&A wise, went off the boil in the back end of the season. It appeared that the amount of games were catching up on him. He wasn't used to playing that volume of games. I think he'd played double the amount of minutes last season that he played in the Bundesliga the year before. So caught up on. But Brendan Aronson, where's your head at with this? Leeds will obviously need a second number 10. But do you keep Brendan?
Yeah, you keep him. For me.
Yeah, I would keep as well. I just don't see him going. Whether I'd sell him or not, I think he stays, PSR is also a factor in that as well. We spent 25 million on him. His book value is probably not low enough to recoup it anyway, but yeah, still a young enough player. Has time. A little bit of time. Daniel James, not going anywhere.
No, he stay where he is.
Stays exactly where he is. Willie Nonto. This might split opinions, this one, funnily enough. But what would you do with Willie? Very strong end to the season. Not such a strong middle, but very strong end and start.
I'd keep him. You keep him. He's a little bit mercurial, isn't he? And he showed flashes of it towards the end of last season. We know that there's a player in there. And we've seen him play in the Premiership as well. And he was very good in the Premiership. So,
arguably better, Paul.
sorry. Premier League. He was very good in the Premier League.
See, I didn't even pick up on the Premiership reference, but now I am.
Yeah, Premier
Someone
League.
will stop saying Premiership. Yeah.
Yeah,
someone told me yesterday that there was no U in colour, and I was like, in rumor, sorry, and I was like, well, there is on this side of the ocean. Yeah, there is, but thanks for being pedantic. Yeah, we won't worry about that. Willie Nanto, so we're keeping Willie. I would agree.
100%.
Largi Ramazani.
Keep him. Yeah, I think you have to keep him, don't you? But again, he's another one that I could see being sold.
Yeah, same. I could see a sale. I don't know if you make back the money you bought on him. So from a PSR perspective, it doesn't make much sense to sell him because you're going to end up banking a loss on that, and that'll impact you on the next player you want to bring in. But I think there's more from Largi. And it's funny. There's certain players I think would do better in the Premier League than the Championship. I think Outanack is built for the Premier League. We've seen Willie Nanto be better in the Premier League than he was in the Championship. And I think Largi could also be in that bracket as well. So I would say Sam Chambers, breakthrough season from last year. Did well when we saw him. Very, very good for the 21s last season as well. Really talented young player. What would you do with Sam?
I'd loan him. I think I'd loan him just so he can get more consistent experience, probably in the Championship again. I remember watching him against Middlesbrough, and he was brilliant. Really, really good against Middlesbrough. So, yeah, very, very good.
Yeah, most people think of the same thing as well. Daniel, I think with the Farke, it's a valid point by Hank, but I think the reason Farke didn't play him was similar to players last season. He got injured and fell out of the team, and other players went in and did well. So you don't drop them, they become your main players, and he had to work harder then to get back into that team. And
I also think there was a little bit of, not attitude problem, but I think there was a little bit of manager and
be in the team.
There was a little bit of manager and player just trying to sort out their relationship. Yeah, a little bit of flexing at the same time as well, because Farke doesn't like to be messed around at all. So, yeah, there was a little bit of that was going on last season. But, yeah, I love the guy.
Yeah. Andrew's saying, whereas Manor Solomon is not a current Leeds United squad player. So that's why Manor's not on the list, because he doesn't play for the club. Same way Joe Rothwell's not there either. He doesn't play for the club at the moment. And that's why we brought the other players back into it who were on loan last season and are now back at the club. So, and we're going to talk about them because someone's saying, Paul, sell someone at some point. I agree. And this is the thing. We need a squad this year. We can't have, and if you look at the bench last year, Farke did the same thing in the second half of last season that he did the year before. He became reliant on his core group of players and stopped using everybody else. And I think that won't work in the Premier League. The output will need to be much higher from people next season. Fatigue will be a much bigger part because of the speed and the tempo and the aggression of the league. They'll need to have players that they can rotate, and they'll need to change the system at times as well. They'll need to be able to go, well, some games are going to play 3 in the middle, some games are going to play 3 at the back. We're going to have to just dig in at times and be practical here as well. And I think some players will come into their own in that situation. I think you've got horses for courses that you can use. So I think there are players that you would need to keep around. We've sold a couple. Not a lot of money coming in, but I think it kicks in now. I think from this point on, we've got some sales. So let's talk about Joseph Gelhardt. Joffy being linked with moves to Wrexham and Hull City. Rumoured today, or news today, suggests that Leeds initially wanted a £7 million fee for him this season. They've now dropped that asking price between £3 and £4 million for him. And on top of that as well, the rumour to Hull might not be as strong as before because Ruben Celis was a big factor in that. And he's gone from Hull now. What would you do with Joffy?
Sell him. It's not worked. Yep. It's not worked. So I think it's time for him to move on. Great guy, a genuinely great guy. He's never grumbled, never complained. Love his mum. I think his mum's lovely as well. They've never complained. They've just kind of, he's just gotten on with it. But it hasn't worked out for him this season. Well, at Leeds at all, really, has it? So yeah, I'd sell him. I think value wise, you're probably looking at 4.
4, man. Same. Okay, Sam Greenwood, a player I was so excited about and thought would make the breakthrough. I really, really did. I have a soft spot for Sam. I like the kid. I like his background, where he came from is very similar to mine. And I just thought where he grew up and what he's come through and how he's gotten out of that, I resonated with me when I saw his stuff on the documentary. And I really wanted it to work for Sam. Had a very strong start to his loan at Middlesbrough, very strong start to his loan at Preston. And then in both cases, come the middle of the year, it just started to taper off a little bit and ended up being a little bit underwhelming. Both sides had a £1.5 million options to buy him. Neither side took that up. And Leeds are said to be looking for 3 to 4 million for him. I think they might be lucky to get £1.5 million, but I think Sam's time at Leeds has probably come.
I would agree massively, and I think his fee would be £1 million.
Yeah. It's a sad one. I think there's a footballer in there.
Yeah,
I really do.
He showed flashes of it in the Premier League. Got that right this time. He showed flashes of it in the Premier League, but he's got. It's just not worked out at Leeds for whatever reason for him. It just hasn't. It just really hasn't. Sadly, like you said, there's a player in there. He can take a free kick, he can do bits and pieces. Just it's not worked for him at Leeds, and unfortunately, we need to be brutal.
Yeah, I think the skill set is there. I think the question mark is maybe around the work ethic, but the skill is definitely there in the player. He's got an eye for a pass, an eye for a shot, an eye for a free kick as well, but it's just the extra bits in the middle he needs to do a bit more on. Hopefully he'll get there. I really do hope he gets there, Sam Greer's on 30 grand a week. I'm not sure he is, but it's probably transfer market telling you that, but I'm not sure that would be accurate because he's still on the same deal when we bought him. So, or his pro deal went from 21's up. So it was Premier League money. There was a 60% pay cut in that last season. So he wasn't on that, but he might go back onto that. But that seems like an awful lot. If 80 grand's the most Leeds have spent on a player or paid a player per week, 30 seems an awful lot. But yeah, we'll have to look at that. Darko JB, good season on loan at Plymouth last year. Made a very big impact there. Played as a 10 at the start of the season, scored a couple of goals, and then went back to playing as a 6. What do you think about Darko? 5 million bought for.
Yeah, no, I was going to say this is the other thing. I mean, Man City rated him quite highly, didn't they? I spoke to a couple of Man City fans about him. They all thought he was a very, 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 very good player. I'd loan him. There's a player in there, I think he just there's a little bit of maturing that needs to be done. So I'd loan him. I think I'd keep him, but loan him out.
I would loan because I don't think you get 5 million for him.
No,
right now.
No chance.
But I think he's developing. He's definitely developing. It was a good year. Plymouth needs another good year as well. Maybe at a team that's not competing at the bottom of the league, that might be good for him as well. Jack Harrison. I nearly forgot to put him in. That's where my head's at. But Jack Harrison. Just going to press this button here, Paul, and see what happens.
What's happened? What have I done?
I'm sticking him in the sale bracket. I didn't have any room for his mum.
Well, that was the best.
What do you get for him though? Because at one point, Newcastle were willing to pay Leeds close to £30 million for him when he made the Premier League. The year we went down, the start of that season, when he was talk of him going into the England squad, and we said no. And then by the end of that season, we were trying to send him to Leicester for 20 million. And then in the last second, we pulled the plug on that one as well. And now we have a player who's had a really poor year in the Premier League. No assists, 1 goal. And that took 2 deflections before it went into the back of the net. The only goal he scored has been sent back. Angus Kinnear doesn't like him, so he's not going back to Everton.
No.
What do you do with this, man? I say sell. I would take whatever's available for him. But
I think we probably get somewhere between maybe 5 to 10 million for him. But I think sell him. His time's done. Now the issue is that he's not really come out and said anything. He's kept quiet
yet,
and I don't remember. And I could be completely wrong, and I'll stand corrected if I am. But I haven't seen anywhere on social media somebody or him saying congratulations for getting promoted back to the Premier League.
On awards.
I've not seen anything.
Say 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, roughly, it's in one of the news videos, he did say that he wanted to be part of Everton's new plan, that he thought that with their fan base and with what they were doing with Bramley Dock, who wouldn't want to be part of that moving forward? That was right at the end of the season, knowing full well Leeds were on the verge of promotion. And some of me feel sorry for Jack in a way, because I don't think PR has always been his strong suit. I think more often than not, when a microphone's put in front of him, he might be just too honest sometimes and just says things and probably shouldn't.
Oh, listen, don't. We did stiff him with the Leicester deal. There is nowhere. There's no. You'll not convince me otherwise with that. We absolutely stiffed him with the Leicester deal. And listen, it's not his fault that he was then given a new contract, improved terms after the Leicester situation. So there's none of that. That's not his fault. However, his attitude, his mum, and just other stuff that's gone on, no. And unless it's a coach like Bielsa, you're not going to get the same out of him. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think he's too much of a negativity lightning rod.
Yeah. And listen,
I would sell.
Farker's got a really good track record of being able to bring players back into the fold and do well with them. He wouldn't be able to do that with Harrison, I don't think, because the fans a little bit harder this time.
Well, it's said here from Jamie, Harrison doesn't have the character return. At least Harrison faced the music and did an interview and talked about it, and was very honest about it. And one thing, and this is where I always give Brendan Aronson a little bit of credit. Aronson makes a decision on his following year immediately as the season finishes. So he did it at Union Berlin, and he finished it there. He said he was going back to Leeds, and he spoke to his grandfather, and he wanted to make it work at Leeds. The year he joined Leeds, the decision was made apparently at Christmas that he wanted to come to Leeds, and that was decided then he was doing that. So he seems to decide towards the back end of the season, I know what I'm doing next year, and that's the end of it. Jack hasn't done that. Jack hasn't said anything about Leeds at all, talked about it. He's only spoken about Everton. So I would imagine he goes away. Joel Piroux, this is the one that I thought might be a surprise, but I don't believe you'll get the money that we paid for him. So I think in that situation, you probably don't get the PSR money you're looking for. Again, another player I think who you might be surprised in the Premier League might suit a bit more. What are your thoughts on this one? Because it's a tricky one with Joel.
It is, but you make it very, very simple. Keep him. I agree with you. I think in the Premier League, he will be a different type of player. I think it'll suit him a lot better.
Yeah, Stephen's right there as well. If Harrison has a bad game at Leeds, can you imagine the reaction? Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I think El Amelie is in that bracket as well. If he makes a mistake in one more game, it's going to be an absolute intolerable outcry. Patrick Bamford.
Yep.
Thanks,
same. You've been amazing.
Thank you very much for everything you've done. Appreciate your time.
100%.
Yeah, appreciate that. And you know what? You got the gig with the Kaiser Chiefs on stage. Pretty cool fucking moment. There you go. I don't swear off, but I had to swear down because it is.
Yeah. But no, he goes with my blessing. I know. Listen, he doesn't need my blessing, but you know what I mean. He's not been everybody's cup of tea, but again, when he came back last season, the back end of the season, he played an integral role. Again, just his experience. I think. I mean, I'll use what he did in the Middlesbrough game that we won 1-0, tracking back, winning the ball, nutmegging a player, carrying it upfield, and the ball that he then played on to, I can't remember who it was, Nonto.
First, it wasn't Nonto, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just wonderful. But yeah, it's time for him to go. But I've got nothing but positive, nice things to say about him. A really thoroughly decent guy, has never complained, has just gotten on with his job. He's just been unfortunate with injuries for the last few seasons.
Yeah, he's missed the start of every season over the last couple of years and the end of most seasons bar this year. So, and has been said there, apparently he's been training and he's ready for the Premier League and the body feels good. And I just think he's one of those brackets himself, Phillips, Stuart Dallas, Luke Ayling, Liam Cooper. I just think the output from the Bielsa time just broke them, and they just haven't. Their bodies have never been the same since, and they break down too often. Not as anyone. Come here. If someone told me you're never going to play in the Premier League, but I can give you 3 years with this guy, you'll be a Premier League player, but you'll probably be broken afterwards. Would you take it? Like, absolutely, bite your hand off.
Sure.
Of course you would. So, understandable. Mateo Joseph. It's a tough one, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with what I've been saying. I would say loan. I think he needs minutes. He needs to play consistently. I wouldn't be against even loaning him out to Betis for the year. If they want him, take him for a year. Let him go play in Spain for a year.
Yeah.
I just think he's too young. There's definite potential there. And I always said it with Creswell last year. What's the rush in selling him? What's another year going to do?
There isn't any. I think one of the things that he has to do, I think, his maturity, his attitude and his maturity. I'm not saying his attitude is bad, but I think his attitude and maturity just need to blossom a little bit more. So I think a year loan would probably do him the world of good. consistent minutes, always doing what he needs to do. I think low.
Yeah, and I get this. People are saying PSR cash, but at some point you've got to say, well, we've got a future as well. You know what I mean? And what's the point in buying these young players if when we do get one who could potentially make the breakthrough, that we've been him off too early? And I still believe we've sold Charlie Creswell way too early. Still believe that. I think we got more money if we wait a year or two and loaned them out for a year in France. I just don't get the rush, but it is. I mean, the PSR thing is a valid point. It's just not a point in this particular situation that I like.
Yeah, with Cresswell though, that was his dad though, wasn't it? That's why he got sold. So.
I think a lot of things broke down there. I think again he questioned Farke and Farke didn't like him. That was the end of that. His dad didn't help the situation. But his younger brother is still at the club and is playing very well and was one young player of the year last year. I think was player of the year from 21s last year or players player of the year or something last year. So just still another Creswell in the club with a bit of talent. Would you loan Matteo, sell him, or keep him?
Loan him. I'd loan him.
Yeah, same. And then finally, Harry Gray, who is, by all intents and purposes, as was reported today, this week, is expected to sign his first pro deal in October when he turns 70.
You keep him. If he gets sold, loaned out, or anything, there will be effigies being burnt at Ellen Road. You keep him 100%. I think he is, and like I said, I've got friends who have had kids that have played with him, and they've all said the same thing. If you think Archie is good, believe me, when you see Harry Gray playing at full flight, he's been earmarked as the one since he was about 7 years old. He's just, I promise you, he is going to be incredible, and he stays. And don't be surprised if he gets minutes.
I know we like to make, people in general like to make definitive statements about things from time to time. I'm not a massive fan of that, but I don't understand, Wayne, how you can say that you don't think Harry Gray will sign a pro contract at Leeds when the club have already put one in front of him for October. That's already been discussed, and the news is that he will sign one. He can leave now if he wants to. He could have left last year if he wanted to. There's no conversation where the club have to be involved with this. He's under 17 years of age. He's not on a pro deal. The club if another club wants him, all they've got to do is approach his family and take him. That's it. And then Leeds will get a fee via tribunal. There's talk of Oliver Boast apparently could have gone to Spurs for about £1 million in a thing as well. We saw it with Finlay Gorman, went to Manchester City. Leeds got £5 million for him. I don't understand how we can say definitively that you don't think he'll sign a pro deal, because I think he will sign a pro deal.
At Leeds, he will do 100%. Listen, there's the history that stands for something with the Gray family. That stands. He will want to have that in his locker, regardless of I've been a pro player. At Leeds United, I signed my first professional contract at Leeds United, just like my older brother did. So, he's had... Yeah, exactly. And listen, when this is going to be water off a duck's back to him, he's got the... what's the right way of saying it? The cockiness about himself to be able to deal with it, because
I think so. Yeah.
Since he was tiny playing football, he's had Man City sniffing around him. He's had European clubs sniffing around him.
Liverpool have been in regular contact with the family, apparently.
Yeah, they've all been sniffing around him. So he knows what the game is. He knows how it's working. But I think he'll want to sign his first professional contract at Leeds. But I also think he will. I think you'll see him really progress next season. It's obvious that Farke loves him as well, by the way. Really, really, really rates him. He's not built like a 15/16-year-old. We all saw him at the game. He's tall, big, physical lad. So, yeah, keep it.
Just to double back on Wayne, completely entitled to your opinion, Wayne. Not trying to belittle your opinion in any way. You're 100%. But Wayne, let's revisit this one. And if I'm wrong, I will tell you I'm wrong. And if you're wrong, you can tell me you're wrong, and we can have a chat about it. But yeah, you're entitled to your opinion. There was talk that the family had spoken. That Liverpool had approached the family last year around both of them, which didn't happen in the end. But yeah, I think if he was going to go, he would have gone already. But I think there's another year at least there before getting to those conversations. But yeah. Yep. So Paul, I reckon we're probably bringing in about £29 million based on the
you've missed a couple of players off of there. Money wise, yeah.
Who?
Bamford's got a year left on his contract, so if he goes,
okay. What do you want for him?
I reckon about £500,000. Genuinely, about half.
Number, isn't it? 0.5.
And then you've got Sam will go for between 500,000 and 1 million.
I'd say half, Paul, as well. I would agree. It's like it's 30 million. Anyone else missing off that list?
Yeah, there was somebody.
I said Freppo. It's 0 though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at 30 million pounds. I'd love to know what everyone else has thought in the chat. Like, what number did you come up with at the end? 30 million might get us a player, so might ship off a load, but you could get more. I mean, you could see maybe Jack Harrison go for more than 10 if there's a couple of clubs interested. Unlikely, but you never know. You might be surprised by Paddy as well, but you never know. But yeah, interesting exercise just to have a look. But I think you're probably what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players out, which is about what's been rumored. I think the pretty obvious ones there. And then you're looking at probably bringing in 7 or 8 players again as well. Now, not all of them will be starters. Not all of them will be players everyone wants us to sign. There'll be a couple of, I think, experienced, free Premier League experienced players for around the edges, which I think we need. But then I think they'll spend the bulk of the money down the middle of the park for straight down the spine of the team.
100%. I think one of the biggest things that we're going to be spending money on, 2 biggest things we'll be spending money on this season will be a number 10 and a probably a left back. Yeah.
I think the left back stuff is sorted out as soon as we know what happens with Firpo. Then I think you see a move there. I think another right back is likely to come in as well.
I think we all know who's coming in at left back, though, don't we? Joe Blackburn said so.
But he has the benefit of the doubt on that until the window closes. Until he's signed different. To be fair, from who he thought he heard it from, I also heard it from as well. So it's been out there. The fee at the time that was being discussed was 55 million, was what I was told for Tsimikas and Caoimhín Kelleher. Considering Kelleher went for 15 million, I don't think anyone's paying 40 million for Tsimikas. So I think that price at least is incorrect. But the player himself might still be one to have keep an eye on. Max Aarons, he's been talked about again, but it comes up every single year. He's falling into the Ryan Kent bracket at this point, Max Aarons, but Farkett does like him. Bournemouth didn't think he was good enough for the Premier League last season, so would you then take a player who wasn't deemed good enough? I don't know. At the same time, I'm saying we should bring Joe Rothwell back, but I'm being a hypocrite there. But yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll get more of an indication the next couple of weeks anyway. So we've got until the 1st of July apparently to wait until anything happens, but we'll see, Paul.
Just don't talk about transfers. Just don't do it. It's easier not to. Kelleher wasn't bought in, and then everybody just lost this crap.
Look, we covered it on the big upstream. We put all the goalkeepers side by side. We looked at the volume of the goal. Actually, you know what? Let's just throw it up here now, real quick, right? while we're all here, let's just. This was the goalkeeper thing that we did over on Big Up, right? Basically, what we did was we looked at a couple of the statistics, but the statistics that were more relative to what we're going to look at next season, right? So you've Leeds goalkeepers, and then all the keepers they had been linked with at that point. So no one in this list that hasn't been linked, okay? And the key statistics that I looked at here, bearing in mind a couple of things. Caoimhín Kelleher played behind the best defence in the league for the last couple of years. When he didn't play a whole lot of games. Hasn't got a full season of Premier League football under his belt or any division football under his belt at 26 years of age. So when you looked at this, I looked at goals conceded per game, which is an important statistic, but the volume of shots they faced per game, which is huge. Then the save percentage based on that, which gives you a better indication of how many shots they face versus volume. Bearing in mind, Leeds will likely face more shots next season than they've faced this year or the year before. And then this is an interesting one. Goals prevented, or XGOT, they call it. This is essentially your goalkeeper XG. If it's a minus, you've conceded more goals than you were expected to concede. If it's a 0, you've conceded the exact amount of goals that they thought that you would concede. And if it's a plus, you've prevented more goals than you were expected to prevent. When you look at this, Jordi Petrovic's numbers are ridiculous.
Yep.
He has faced an average of 1.2 shots per game versus 0.7 for Millier, 0.4 for Darlow. His volume of shots per game is 4.8 versus 2.3, 1.7. Caoimhín Kelleher, by the way, on this, 3.9. Save percentage, 80% saved. Kelleher, 69. Then you get to goals prevented, plus 7.9. So he directly prevented roughly 8 goals that should have been or are deemed as goal scoring opportunities or should be in one of the next G for a striker. Caoimhín Kelleher minus 0.06, which means he conceded 1 goal more than was expected. Nothing more though. And then when you look at the errors leading to goals, again, Petrovic, Finn Dackman and Petrovic stand out as the 2 top. People will question Petrovic's passing accuracy, but they don't play out from the back; they go long, and that contributes to that. So it was just an interesting stat. Michael Cooper is there as well, interesting as well. Do you take into consideration though as well? Championship, top end of the championship. But if you look at him versus Ilan Melier, it's considerably higher, and you can see the impact that he had last season as well. So
goals prevented.
Interesting exercise of nothing else. It's over on Big Up. If you want to go check that out, you can go and watch that. But there you go. Right, let's wrap it up there, folks. Massive thank you as always for supporting us. Paul, what's going on over your channel this week?
Just the usual stuff. Every sort of couple of days, what I'll do is I will bring just a little bit of information in terms of news-wise and stuff. The rumours thing isn't my bag. That's your bag. That you're better at doing that stuff than me in terms of getting the information. What I like to do is try and pull a couple of pieces of news information and just put it together in a little succinct video, sort of every couple of days, and then just get it out there. That's generally what it'll be for the time being. So it's just, you'll see it, get the notifications on, subscribe to my channel, do all of that kind of good stuff. You'll just get notified. I'll talk rubbish. I'll just talk how I feel, but you say whatever you want to say in my comment section, as long as it's not nasty, rude, horrible stuff. But just, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. The whole point of the therapy session or the Leeds therapy is that we all say what we want to say. Everybody's opinion is as valid as anybody else's. So, yeah.
Cool. Right then, we'll wrap it up there, folks. Massive thanks, Steve. I'll look into the Big Up stream, not reloading on over there, and I'll check it out for you and let you know. Everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow morning for some Leeds news. Thanks as always for supporting the channel and joining us tonight, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.